Alright, this is COVID Cooties by Symbia. Link is in the chat. Screen cap, download these memes before they're prohibited entirely. These memes are making the fearsome COVID thing into something you might want to cuddle up next to, like those COVID pillows they gave out at Event 201. Let's see who's here in the chat. Azul Yogi 33, SpongeBob, Zinvala 737, Rocco Calzone, Mom with Sons, Evar, and SpongeBob 77777. Alright, so let's go ahead and check that notifications went out. Yep, notifications are out. Text messages should be going out any moment now, so there should be an influx of people. The meme on the screen, it's got Fepe the Penguin with a gun, and in the background there's a Shutterstock generic public domain clip art scientist. That's what it is. Anyway, funnily enough, I have been sued, and I've sued people, and it goes back and forth. You know how that is. Well, anyway, I'd kind of left one of these things in the past, and this person then wrote the judge, and I got this notification. Well, this guy is begging for a summary judgment for emotional damage and for trademark libel. Basically, I libeled his avatar, his meme that he trademarked. Well, anyway, I looked into it. It turns out he couldn't have trademarked it legally because this thing was actually on Shutterstock and has been for years, and it's already public domain. So in other words, this guy trademarked a public domain piece of crap clip art in order to sue me for libel. That's how desperate he is. So I wrote back, I replied with a motion just basically saying, this is crap. Clearly this is malicious prosecution, and here's a link. And I submitted evidence that shows that no, he doesn't own this meme. He could not have trademarked it, nor can he sue me over it. So anyway, I'll keep you abreast of that. That's another one of these sideshows going on that this kind of stuff seems to surround the channel. It's like there's always somebody suing us. But anyway, yeah, the guy doesn't own the trademarks that he trademarked. So I looked into it, and I actually put this in my motion here that if the USPTO decides to investigate, which I believe they will, with even a slight nudge from this judge, they will take away his trademark, and maybe it will help my case, because I'm suggesting malicious prosecution here would be pretty much demonstrated if it's proven that he only trademarked something to get back at me when it was never his in the first place, which it never was, and it isn't. If you want to put that ugly piece of crap clip art on a lunchbox and sell it for profit, go ahead. You don't owe this guy a penny. He does not own it. It's just bizarre how people are so uncreative. Alright, let's move on. Adam Lanza commented on the video from the other night, touching grass in a fake reality. And touching grass is just an expression that means you need to get out of your house and get in touch with reality, which, you know, this is something that's really become very clear to me as of late. The fact that we have a fake war going on, we've had fake wars, fake climate change, fake school shootings, fake demics, that should tell you that we are already in a metaverse. What difference does it make if the screen is on an appliance across the room or if it's strapped onto your face? I mean, we do have a simulation that's been superimposed over everything. But anyway, Adam Lanza left me a comment. He said, weird, his name says Adam Lanza, but the avatar is clearly David Hogg. Why do people always mix those two up? He says, ha ha ha, after looking up the Urban Dictionary definition of Mandoozle, the Eric Dubé joke was way funnier. That's in response to something I had said earlier about how we are no longer using the term Mandoozle because it was already taken apparently by the Urban Dictionary. So now we're calling it the Lidella effect because it's really about lying to yourself, lying to others. It's confabulation. It's the byproduct of interrogator bias and the I want to fit in with an internet community syndrome. That's all it is. But I'm no longer going to call it Mandoozle because that has its own definition on Urban Dictionary. that kind of preempted ours. And I respect, property rights and all that, and that's already been defined by somebody else. If you want to look it up for yourself, Mandoozle. I'll go ahead and read it for you, save you the time. By the way, with UrbanDictionary.com, you can download, or rather, you can order any one of these words, these definitions, printed on a mug. Okay, so Mandoozle, getting tricked by a, it's not really PC, but the definition, or the example here is my trip to Thailand really took a turn for the worse after I was mandoozled. And you can get a Mandoozle mug. It means being, I don't know if tricked, yes, it says tricked, but yeah, you get it. Like that movie Hangover. But anyway, yeah, we can no longer call Mandela affected Mandoozled. So, no, we're calling them Lidella promulgators. How does that happen? SpongeBob says, I'm with you, Tim. Thirst for Truth says, can't there be multiple definitions in the Urban Dictionary? I love that word. Right. Right, that's true. Why not? It's the Mandela affected who can't tolerate ambiguity. They're like, no, I didn't spell it wrong. The dictionary changed because the whole universe shifted, and therefore all of you are wrong. The world is wrong. Billions of people are wrong, and I'm right. That's how they see it. SpongeBob77 says that Brian Stavely denies that Mac is back. Oh, Mac Parhar? Interesting. Probably covering for one of his fellow agents. Finbar says, just got my text message via phone. Glad to be here. Hey, thanks for signing up. Because no matter what they do, even if they, when I say they, I mean the nukes from the Russians, the whatever they do with the space war, or maybe the white nationalists attack the power grid, going around shooting 5G towers, whining about their tribunals or whatever. If the QAnoners go amok and everything goes dark, as far as the social media platforms, you can always get back in touch with this think tank through the text message alerts. So they can Mandoozle every platform out there and we'll still be able to reconstitute. Joined here by MC Dirty Work and Ivar, Jenna Lovecraft Reeves. Yurt Mama says, I just learned these new terms. Okay, I'm not going to read those out loud. Continuing down my mind's account. Updating space doctrine, how to avoid World War III. We'll talk about that because space wars come along as predicted. Busted, ADF caught staging social media PR during flood recovery. Is anything not staged? Is anything not fake? Now check this out. If you're looking at the screen, you have an image of Snoop Dogg at the halftime show. And we were all watching the halftime show to know exactly, what are they going to project for the future? Because it always means something. It always has. These are rituals. I think there's a ball game somewhere in there, but it's mostly just satanic ritual. And on the bottom left, you got the Los Angeles Rams, Super Bowl champions in blue and yellow. What an eyesore. And above that, you have the Ukraine flag, blue and yellow. And then on the right, you've got Snoop in blue and yellow. Coincidences? I don't think so. And someone else had actually suggested to me that I need to look at various social media influencers who are conspicuously using these colors for the last few months. Claptrap says, Brian Stavely says, thank you for calling the Mandoozled hotline when people call in. Yeah, he caught that meme. Like all of our memes, these are very viral things, and yeah, he caught it. Mandoozle is one of our more viral memes out there, and it's kind of replaced Mandela, and now they take it with pride. Brian Stavely says, I'm Mandoozled. It's like, okay, suit yourself. Let's see here. Maybe Eric Dubay can call in. You guys can talk about being Mandoozled together. Creation Bear says, oh, we're live again. Yeah, I don't intend for this 24/7 thing to go down. We have little interruptions here and there, but the objective is a 30-year run nonstop. Minor interruptions, but no, we are not going dark. We have not gone dark. And if they kill the internet, we have backup plans. We are actually forming a media network. We have our reporters out in the field, but we're developing that even further. Zinvala says Snoop Crane. Yeah, exactly. And there were a few other things at the halftime show I'm noting here. For example, someone pointed out that there was a soundbite there for a moment where they played a bit of Tupac, which is an interesting kind of a callback. So you have this halftime performance, and then Eminem comes out and he raps that song One Shot about the New World Order. And then what does he do? He kneels, and it's supposed to be a controversy, probably invented. But the point is, he's kneeling for Kaepernick, who's not there. And I'm like, that's kind of odd, because he's not there. I mean, he's just probably a few miles away. He's watching on TV. But it's kind of interesting that the song One Shot, and he's kneeling for Kaepernick. And I don't know. I kind of think there might be something there, which we'll get into here soon. Moon Harvest says, "Hey Tim, love the show. It's always fascinating. Cheers." Thank you. We've had a number of people who kind of lost track with the raft here until I was on with Tim Truth the other day. And I re-premiered it on my other channel and a few other people who missed it. Alright, let's continue. Creation Bear says, check out the UFC fighter Bryce Mitchell. He's been in the news lately. He did a recent interview where he flamed the jab. Yeah, I saw him. At this point, I'm sorry, when I see anti-vaxxers or truckers driving across the country, I'm like, where were you 2 years ago when we lost the argument on principle? We ceded the argument. The instant people believed that there was a thing that came from the bowl of bat soup that somehow didn't manifest here the way it did in Wuhan. Nobody here had the Kung Flu, where the invisible ghost of Bruce Lee comes around and kicks you on the back of the head. You just fall instantly from it. Nobody here caught it like that. And so all of the people who went to go protest and went to their capitals to beg for their freedoms had already just admitted that they weren't free. You should have just ignored the news. Kind of like nobody gives a crap about Ukraine. I mean, I know a lot of people do. Their emojis, they make you change your avatars and all that. But what I'm saying is that there's a big problem here with non-belief that we didn't see with COVID. With COVID, people gave the media the benefit of the doubt because you're dealing with something invisible, which makes it very easy for them to manipulate us because you had just watched a bunch of stuff, well, your entire life about virus outbreaks. And so here with this Ukraine thing, they've just come up short on the evidence, as many of you have noticed. All right. Where is the Tupac hologram, says 737? Yeah, I was hoping that Akil the MC would show up. Auto Hoax says, Tim's fired up lately. I love it. Yeah, we really do plan to do this 5 days a week. And what's really going to help, I think, in the long term is we've really broken into podcasts. So every podcast platform out there, Amazon, Audible, iHeartRadio, carries Infinite Plane Radio up to date. So we're not really at the mercy of the terms of service of a bunch of snowflake PC companies like YouTube. Feel free to slander, libel, diss them, whatever. Who cares? Because at the end of the day, they don't matter. They're just a bunch of sellouts, like every other social media platform out there. Check this out. New York State Democrats pose with climate change sign signaling plane heading for the Twin Towers. They never get this is green. This is definitely green. They're recycling a psyop. I mean, they're constantly recycling crisis actors, but here they are recycling 9/11. How can we repackage this fake staged event? Oh, we'll just write our newest fake threat on the fake CGI plane graphic here. But look what they've done. They wrote climate change on a plane, and it's heading towards the Twin Towers. And it says, "Wake up, America. We're too late." You see, this is ridiculous because why don't they just show us where the oceans have gone up a few inches? Just show us. They can't. All right, 737 says it's like we're in on the joke. Yeah, you know what? We are. We are, and if you've been following us for more than a year, you already knew about the space station, the drama above with the Russians. And even now, I believe that one of the Kellys, one of the twins, had actually had a public spat with one of the cosmonauts, and I believe he threw away his medal. Yeah, former NASA astronaut Scott Kelly gives back the Russian spaceflight medal. Angry U.S. astronaut tells Russians what to do with the special medal they awarded him in 2011. Well, I don't know. I mean, this to me is like you think they would have bonded a little bit more, given that the Americans have been drinking recycled urine this entire time, 22 years, recycled from the cosmonauts who get pure water. But yeah, apparently they're breaking up, like I've been saying, and I predict this more based on predictive programming. This isn't Ms. Cleo, this isn't tarot cards, this isn't New Age mumbo jumbo. We're just reading the news very closely and noting the subtext and how it interweaves with the popular movies of the day or the movies leading up to it. So in this case, it was pretty obvious that there was going to be a schism above, and this is also foreshadowed by the space race within the movie industry, with the Americans competing with the Russians to film the first movie on the ISS. Tom Cruise's movie was beaten by the Russians, and their movie was called The Challenge. A Challenger reference, if you ask me. But it signified there that the Americans lost the challenge. Well, anyway, Scott Kelly is returning his medal to Russia. He announced it on Wednesday, he tweeted about it. I'm returning to you the Russian Medal for Merit in Space Exploration, which you presented to me. Please give it to a Russian mother whose son died in this unjust war. I will mail the medal to the Russian embassy in Washington. Good luck. Now, you know this is all just theater because these guys all share a green screen. So there's no real space beef. Just so you know, the space war, it's all fake. It's just a war for the space between your ears. It's a war on your mind space. Also, it's a war in cyberspace. But a war in space, sorry, doesn't exist. And these are all characters. Joined here by Pippi Langstruff, who says, yo, spelled with a J. The Missing says, have you heard the New York governor speak? She sounds just like HRC. We need to look into these. There's another one I want to look into. Sidney Powell, the Kraken, the original Kraken who was going to flip the election. I'm pretty sure that Sidney Powell is Ann Coulter in a suit, a skin suit. I'm not going to be rude and say a fat suit, but yeah, Ann Coulter in a fat suit. Well, any suit to her would be a fat suit. She's a beanpole. I'm just saying, I think that Ann Coulter is literally Sidney Powell, and that's how she can be so outrageous and just be so, like she's getting sued for billions of dollars for slander. Let me go ahead and bring up Sidney Powell. Now, you wouldn't know this unless you listen to the voice, and you look very, very closely, and she is very, very masky. Anyway, we talked about this last year. I don't really care to relive it, but I'm pretty sure that Sidney Powell, who was born on May 1st, interesting date, that is the high point on the occult calendar. It's not Halloween, it's Beltane, it's May Day. That's the birthday of this Kraken. Interesting date. And again, if you look here, to me, this just screams deep fake. So forget everything the media says about digital deep fakes and how you can't tell if that's really Tom Cruise or not. It's not about digital deep fakes and TikTok filters. It's about people among us who are like in the TV series V, the reptoids of the human skin. That's what we're talking about. In fact, I think David Icke is controlled opposition to this. I think David Icke is there to help them cover up the seams. Whenever somebody notices, hey, this person looks a little odd, or there's something off, yeah, it's a reptoid, because they don't want you to know, or it's a clone, because they don't want you to know about deepfake tech, and this looks like a standard deepfake outfit, and I think Ann Coulter's inside there. You got to compare the voices. In fact, I'm going to put that in my notes. I'm not going to do it here on the fly, but I am working on a series of 10-minute videos for TikTok and Twitter and a few others, just kind of short form videos that I'll start producing here shortly, and I'm making a list. So if you have any suggestions that you would, anything, any topic that I cover here that you want me to go into detail on in a 10-minute breakdown, just email me, contact me, post it in chat. I'll get it because I am in that business of producing, concise metascript breakdowns. That's what we want to do here. This isn't alternative media. Alternative media is actually controlled opposition. It's all part of the world stage. What we're doing is a post-world stage critique, and you won't find it anywhere else. No one else can go this far. They see the edge, and they run back. And even the flat earth topic generally doesn't go far enough because a lot of people who believe the earth is flat are still constrained by we'll just say the cult that runs the world and its different heads. It's a hydra. And I kind of think that all the religions are pretty much controlled by the same people who control the media. All right, let's continue here. Claptrap says Waynell Sexton could have her own calendar with all of her appearances. Has anybody thought about doing this? A crisis actor calendar? Interesting idea. And yeah, Waynell's been in what, five or six or more. And there's another person too. There was someone last year. I believe he was an anti-vaxxer. He was a soldier. He was a cop, and I believe he was also a dead. I think he died of COVID. Like anyway, there were a few people who got multiple gigs last year. It's been a good couple of years for crisis actors. And those of us who aren't crisis actors but who are nonetheless drafted onto the world stage and we had to put on the little costume on our face, we got paid too, didn't we? Little stimmy checks. Joined by Crater Earth USA, who you can listen to at the Conspiratainment Radio Network. In the mornings, live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but I also have replays on the in-between days at the same time. So you can wake up to Crater Earth USA every day. We're joined by the Missing We. Sleepy Random says they're fighting over petrified wood in the sky. I know, I saw that they were opening up a small sliver of moon rock, small chunk of moon rock, and I was going to say, I hope they're wearing gloves. You don't want to catch a splinter. Because you know, and this is just a fact, another one of these four-lettered F words they're trying to ban, along with fake and flat. It is a fact that the moon rocks presented to the government of Holland were made of wood, petrified wood. So if you're a true believer in the moon landings, you're the conspiracy theorist. But moreover, if you truly believe in the moon landings, you must therefore admit that the moon is made of wood to you. What's more ridiculous, moon made of cheese or a moon made of wood? I think they're in the same camp. And I don't buy either. I don't think they went to the moon. I don't think there's any evidence for it. In that movie that they showed you, that's not evidence. But anyway, they're fighting over it now, and there's going to be a moon base. Commies are building a moon base together, as I predicted. And I say the word predicted loosely. We extrapolated from the available information. We kind of guessed, not guessed, but you know how you're reading a book, and it's just formulaic, like every Dan Brown novel. You know by this chapter who's going to make out with who's going to be at the resolution. You know the ending. We're able to guess the endings of these things long in advance. Claptrap says Sidney Powell dresses Klaus Schwab. Yeah, I would say so. Sidney Powell and Klaus Schwab would make a great couple. And they do look like they're both dressed like just basically evil villains. But yeah, Sidney Powell was the first Kraken. And after she gave up trying to flip the election, she passed the baton to Mike Lindell, who said, "Hello, I'm a crackhead. I mean, former crackhead. Now I just sell pillows." So you have the Kraken to the crackhead. And then Hunter Biden's laptop was going to break the election because of his crack pipes. And I'm like, they just couldn't stop with this crack thing. We couldn't figure out where is it leading. They even said the ISS was cracked. Everywhere we looked, there was a schism. There was a split. There was a split throughout society. And the reference to the Kraken that was going to break the election, release the Kraken, it was a meme that has been forced onto us for the last couple of years. And I was like, where is this leading? What is this Kraken thing? Anyway, long story short, Pluto returns on 2/22/2022, which puts Pluto at 27 degrees Capricorn. And this Pluto conjunct, this return, puts it exactly at the place where it was on July 4th, 1776. Significance here? Well, 1776 and 1619 seem to be a couple of key years here when we look at the split and the two competing worldviews. But more significantly, Pluto is another name of Hades. Hades and Pluto are the same. Hades releases the Kraken. And I think that the ritual we saw on 222 out there at Donde 2, Kanye West's ritual, well, that was produced by Future, who goes by Pluto. So I'm pretty sure that they released the Kraken on that day. SpongeBob says, God loves you, Tim. You're doing good. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to open phones in just a moment. Rocco says break down fake nukes. They can fake nukes by using crisis actors, CGI, and just standard TNT. They don't have to do a whole lot. In fact, back in, what was it? It's at the end of January. There was the thing in North Carolina. What was it called? Let me bring this up because this is kind of pertinent. You had a National Guard drill in 24 counties, and it was to hunt down domestic violent extremists. Yeah, it's an unconventional warfare exercise they do every single year. But anyway, the point about this thing is that they're drilling to go after Timothy McVeigh's white nationalists, the types of people who like weaponizing fertilizer. Well, during this event, and by the way, the last time they had this event, a sheriff actually got shot by some plainclothes military. It was a real mess. It's called Robin Sage. So this Robin Sage event spanned 25 North Carolina counties. Well, anyway, in North Carolina, there was a fertilizer plant that nearly blew up, and it would have been a historically large, huge, significant fire. NC fertilizer plant caused air pollution 5 times higher than EPA limits, so they're still feeling the effects. That was from today. But yeah, thousands evacuated after U.S. fertilizer plant fire, North Carolina. And I'm just suggesting it's not a coincidence that they're doing a drill and they actually have these fires. My point being, what we see, what they say is war, is more or less just exercises presented on TV as real. That's what I'm suggesting. Until proven otherwise, I mean, show me something that isn't a crisis actor. I mean, even the mushroom clouds they're showing us are crisis actors, like recycled explosions. And you know what? I believe that SpaceX even has done some recycled landings. We'll look into that later. Let me go ahead and play this. I have to play this. Sleepy Randa says next time they'll legalize crack. Oh yeah, that's one more thing. Before Pluto Returns, right leading up to that event, the Release the Kraken event, opening the gates of Hades and all this, what did we see? Joe Biden putting a crack pipe in every pocket. The commie's dream of a chicken in every pocket, now it's a crack pipe in every pocket. Yep. Why would they do that? I'm suggesting that they're doing it because it's part of this forced meme. They're painting up the zeitgeist. Let me go ahead and play this. This is a video of Bill Hicks explaining how the power of Lucifer turned him into Alex Jones. Again, this is... excuse me, did I say Bill Hicks? This is Alex Jones talking about the powers of Lucifer and how you can't see them unless you possess them, and that he actually possesses or is possessed by the seething powers of Lucifer. Again, this is Alex Jones, who made $165 million in Sex Scoop in the last 3 years. Fact. Okay, here he is. Again,
fear. Almost everybody's joining it out of fear. There's not a lot of people seething with the power of Lucifer in their hands. Okay? That's the people above Gates and the rest of them. And if you don't have the power of Lucifer seething in your hands, you cannot see the power of Lucifer. Well, I've got the power of Lucifer.
Now he puts his hands up in this hand sign that I see the Masons do, and he says, I've got the powers of Lucifer, and he's dressed in black. And he's in front of a big projection of the globe, the idol of Baal worshippers everywhere. And I mean, when I say Baal, I basically mean the devil. So, I mean, what is he saying here? He's sending mixed signals.
I've got the power of Lucifer, and I don't want it, and I lay it down, and I reject it. Everybody.
Okay, well, he rejected it. Good. Makes me feel better. I can sleep well, knowing. And then, what was that other story about his wife's 5-pound balls? Did you see that one? Alex Jones, and then she made him cry. She put shampoo in his eyes, and it wasn't the No More Tears. She hit him on the head with a shampoo bottle. Alex Jones's wife struck him over 20 times and tried to hit him with a 5-pound ball. He claimed he feared for his life. Alex Jones worried he would die as his wife beat him bloody more than 20 times the bottle of cleaning soap and attempted to hit him with a 5-pound ball. Anyway, my question is just what is she doing with 5-pound balls? And anyway, this is just a sideshow. I don't mean to get into it. All right, so let us continue going through the Minds feed. That was Alex Jones with his Seething Energies of Lucifer. Got a message from Lynn Ertl. She calls in a lot. Lynn Ertl, it's Ertell. Find her on Facebook. She said, I wish we could hear more from Joe Atwill on the pathology rampant amongst this latest crop of Bible thumpers and perfect Christian patriots. The Vanguard, and she's talking about the QAnoners. Now, this is an interesting point she's bringing up here. The vanguard of the entire Trump operation with MAGA and Q. Because she's referring to Joseph Atwill, who wrote the book Caesar's Messiah, about this psyop to create a savior in order to consolidate the popular opinion around a leader. And we've been talking and basically about prophecies being backdated, people being turned into gods. And what we're looking at with the Trump phenomenon is a neo-Christian cult with the Kennedys as the bloodline of Christ, awaiting the second coming, the return of JFK. And this is a real cult. This is something the media has tried to minimize, but they had to address it eventually. But anyway, someone like Joseph Atwill could probably have a field day deconstructing it. And I've said from the beginning, Great Awakening, sealed indictments to be unsealed, judgment. Then, of course, you have the deep state and the white hats. It's like, well, this all sounds like Revelations. This all sounds like they're rebranding Christianity. And when they brought out that JFK is actually the second coming of Christ, it sounds crazy, but this is what they believe. And they believe that the deep state decided we can't have JFK running around, Jesus Christ, Jesus F. Christ running around. They shoot him in the head. He survives, and when he comes back to tell us, the world is going to worship him. So the true QAnoners right now, the ones who are drinking the Kool-Aid, they're literally waiting for JFK to come back so they can worship him as king of the world. And then he'll hand over some kind of authority to Trump and JFK Jr. Now, if that's not weird enough, they take it from Revelations, I believe it's 13, where the Antichrist is shot in the head. And then he comes back and the world falls to its knees. Well, they're saying that JFK is the Antichrist and the Antichrist is Christ. So you literally have a neo-Christian cult, a doomsday cult, with their tribunals, their tribunal fantasy, waiting for this resurrected Sun King who was ritually killed in 63. It's really bizarre, but they want the Antichrist. Thirst for Truth says Alex Jones will still never say no planes. Alex Jones is also a moon landing conspiracy theorist. I'm surprised he's not a climate change conspiracy theorist. Yeah, he believes that man landed on the moon. Can you believe it? John Snyder says the symbolism in the new Corey Feldman single is legit. Okay, I'm glad he's still doing stuff. I saw him on Cameo.com and I'm like, isn't that where these celebrities go to die? Milk a few dollars out of their persona. But no, that's cool. I'll check it out. Portal Complex says Bill Hicks is pushing nukes so he can sell more iodine. Yeah, do you remember Fukushima 311? The other 311. Now, let's take note of this really quick because we're a couple days away from the second hoax anniversary of 311, which was the 9/11 of this present era. But 311 20, let me see, is Fukushima. So COVID wasn't the first one. And there is something of a comparison here when you look at the ground zero and the idea that it starts off small and then it spreads, a chain reaction. Anyway, so on 3/11/2011 or 3/11/11, you have the Fukushima nuclear disaster. And at this time, I was listening to Alex Jones and I believed the news. And he was selling iodine because he said, oh, the fallout's going to come across the Pacific. And if you take a bunch of this iodine, it'll protect you. So he's selling iodine as a preventative thing. And then speaking of the Kraken, Ann Coulter, she came out and she said radiation is good for you. Let me bring this up. Just kind of a little side note here. Yes, Ann Coulter said, go Fukushima yourself. And yes, she said radiation is good for you. Conservative maverick Ann Coulter has poured scorn on fears, saying radiation is good for you. Anyway, I remember this incident because Alex Jones was pushing iodine. He said, you got to boof the iodine, you got to boof, like just like today it's ivermectin. They all have their cures, these partisan cures for these partisan psyops. And it's like, oh, their cure will kill me. And then the other side says, no, their cure is going to kill us. And it's like, what? So one side thinks the vax is salvation and the immune system by itself is not sufficient. And the other side thinks, no, the vax will kill you. And it's like, wait, how can you have these psyops be so perfectly partisan left and right? That's why I don't buy into them. And it seems like it's just a money-making racket. And you definitely do have Alex Jones hawking iodine again. It's usually run for the hills, get your MREs, go off the grid. Does anybody ever actually go off the grid, by the way? Not really. And there's a name for that. It's called the Bubba Effect. If you want to look into this, it helps explain a lot of conspiracy theory culture today and why a lot of it strays from pure media analysis and it goes into what are we going to do about it? Are we going to run for the hills? The Bubba Effect, this is from Rational Wiki, is a trend of behavior that was postulated by Command Sergeant Major Tim Strong about people heading for the hills when they feel threatened or when times are uncertain. So, better safe than sorry is kind of the idea here, but it says here in practice, the Bubba Effect, and it's talking about this notion lifted right out of Red Dawn. The Bubba Effect amounts to histrionic overreactions to threatening fake news and vague rumors. In turn, springing from the scrap heap of survivalist ideas and brain-dead conspiracy theories. But despite this, the Bubba Effect has proven surprisingly broad. Yeah, it still sells. I'm always telling people, popcorn, not ammo. If you're reaching for the ammo, if you're going for the Bubba Effect, then they dragged you onto the world stage with your emotions. You know, it's all still just a movie. And I don't mean to, call anybody out by name or anything, but Richie from Boston, and I remember this very clearly, at the end of March 2 years ago, he said on April Fool's Day they're going to cut off the internet. They're going to send somebody to my house in a black car. They're going to take me out of my basement and you'll never see me again. So he said the internet was going to die on April Fool's Day and that we're all fools. And that we should buy his MREs. And I'm like, if they're going to take you in the middle of the night, if they're going to shut off the grid, how are the MREs going to get to us? How are you going to get paid? And aren't you going to be off the grid? Why do you need me to buy your MREs if you're going to be off the grid somewhere? I'll just go to your place. But anyway, it didn't happen, needless to say. And so the Bubba Effect is a way of using panic to sell merch. All right, let's continue. Victoria says QAnon is a cult as you can get, but they're right about the biolabs in Ukraine. When you say they, the QAnoners are right, it's a very troubling thing. But we'll see. I'll say this. Well, we'll see. I have to look into it. I have seen, and again, anything with QAnon is just kind of questionable at this point. The story with Q isn't new. It didn't just show up with a bunch of Trumpers hanging out. The storyline, the plot that involves the Kennedys, and it involves death faking and this war on the deep state, this is a story that is decades old. I mean, it's been written into this meta script, and that's what's so fascinating about it, and that's why it's unignorable. Yes, Fukushima was a 311. It was 31111 if you didn't know. All right, going down the comments, make sure I haven't missed anything. Linda Curtis says, save yourself from big government, but save your libido, Alex. Yeah, the sex scoop stuff. It's just white label supplements. And I'm not against monetizing content, but I have this theory. Alex Jones made $156 million dollars or 165. I mean, that's not profit, but whatever. It's a lot of money. But I'm kind of thinking here that one of the reasons why he pushes that in particular is he's trying to alienate uh, cis females. That they're trying to keep fringe, controlled opposition, fringe. They want to make it unpalatable. They want to make it unlikable. They want to make it the thing that the husband listens to in the man cave. So I kind of think that Alex Jones pushes a bunch of products that are, again, and the commercials too. I think the commercials are a big part of it as well. It's about creating this idea that conspiracy culture is all a bunch of bubbas ready to run for the hills and go after the government and burn 5G towers. And it's all just a misrepresentation. And by the way, Alex Jones backtracked on Sandy Hook, and he believes the true story of the official story of Sandy Hook, the fairy tale. Now you'll say, well, maybe he didn't want to get sued. Well, what is the big deal there? Can he not afford it? Rocco says there was a Sandy Hook Alex Jones hit piece on NPR today. Just the psyop it keeps on giving, and many of their actors have gone on for bigger and better things, like Gabby Petito. She went from a post-Sandy Hook music video to the back of Brian Landry's van to that field. I mean, all obviously story. Gabby Petito, 22. She was a personification of Virgo, representing Persephone being taken into Hades. They discovered her on the equinox. All very symbolic. So it's also noteworthy, too, that we had the Virgo character going into the underworld, kidnapped by Hades, and then Hades resurfaces months later with this Pluto return thing. There's a continuity here between these various psyops. My favorite part of the Gabby Petito thing was when Marjorie Taylor Greene put on those black shades and went out hunting for Gabby's body. And I think she only found like a Monster energy drink can. And that story was supposedly gripping the nation. I don't know anybody who took it seriously. Here we go. This is the... Oh no, I'm sorry. That was Dog the Bounty Hunter. Dog the Bounty Hunter went hunting for Gabby Petito's remains, and he turned up a can of Monster energy drink. Why did I think that was MTG? Alright, let's move on. Oh, by the way, MTG was on Alex Jones. Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene joined broadcaster Alex Jones to discuss a conspiracy theory called the Great Reset. So now it's back to being a conspiracy theory. This is why conspiracy theorists are always flustered. You know, they seem like... I mean, look, there's a reason why the media has... or the conspiracy theorists have sort of a... not an antagonism, but they have a antipathy towards MSM. Because one minute you're conspiracy theorists for saying something, the next minute they're saying it. And now you're right. Anyway, let me take a look here. Some rawstory.com, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Alex Jones claim that 90% of the population will be reduced by 2030. One of my questions from the beginning has been, for all the anti-vaxxers out there, who are you trying to save? If you really believe what you claim to believe, then you're just stopping your enemies, and they are your enemies if these are the fascist control freaks who want to overthrow everything in order to enslave you and take away your freedom and send you to Mars or whatever. Why are you stopping them? Who are you trying to stop? So I just don't think it's a plausible theory. I don't think they want to eliminate you. They probably need more people to grind them up into Soylent Green and Astrocrete. And if you don't know what Astrocrete is a concrete they're going to make out of lunar dust, regolith, Mars dust, and blood. So you can donate your blood when you're on the moon, and they can make bricks out of it. Blood and soil. There's some connotations here I find very interesting. That the first lunar settlements will have this blood bond to the new turf. Anyway, Jones says they want to get a 90% population reduction by 2030. See, another problem I have with this whole population reduction thing, one, I don't think it sounds like a bad idea. But two, and I don't mean eliminating people, but like, I guess what I'm saying here is, like I said, It's not plausible, and it's been going on for too long. How many years have been talking about cutting the population down? Georgia Guidestones went up when? 40 years ago? We've had exponential growth since then. If they wanted to cut down the population, they would have done it a long time ago. They would have culled the herd before it metastasized. So no, they're not going to get rid of the population. We're not going to run out of people. Just another fake, another panic. We're going to run out of people. Maxwell Cooper says Q is currently being sued by Tim, so anything coming out of that community is a spinoff. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Q story once that gets out. Yeah, it is true that Q has been exposed as a friend of the Trump family, as in buddies with Don and Ivanka, first name basis. This is a big deal, and there's been a media blackout on it, but it's going to get out here very soon. Let's see here. Anything else? Former astronaut Katie Coleman on Russia threatening to pull out of the space station. Yeah, this is pretty much the news. It's like Scott Kelly on Twitter called the head of the Russian space agency a child, and the head of the Roscosmos blocked him on Twitter. He said, he's a moron who will be the death of the ISS. And notice how this is commonplace, the death of the ISS, the sky falling. And I've been talking about this for some time, how specifically I started watching Netflix. All these streaming video services, they're all just basically mugging me. It's like every month one of them's going to get me when my Cash App card isn't off. This month it was HBO, last month it was Netflix. But I just take them up on it, and I watch everything, and I just break it down, and I have found some startling consistency with regard to the imagery that they're pumping into the mass, basically the collective imagination. And it's all space stations falling. It's all space arcs breaking apart in the atmosphere. Specifically, Season 1, Episode 13 of The 100. These are noteworthy. And then there's also Cowboy Bebop started off with a scene like this. But you're seeing a lot of space junk on the new stuff that has come out. So if you were watching Netflix and all the new releases, let's just say from October through the new year, you would have been inundated with movies about stuff falling from the sky. Then Don't Look Up and Moonfall. My point being, you have a lot of time spent seeing something that is unimaginable. Like the idea of towers burning down after getting hit by a couple of airplanes. These are things that are extraordinary, but they make them ordinary just by repetition and by propaganda. And so the propaganda matrix has been flooding flooding the zone with space stations falling. That's my point. And in the 100, Season 1, Episode 13, you had the space station comprised of 13 stations breaking apart. Just like in that video that the Russians put out, the RAA, where it's like the Russian segment leaves. So it's breaking apart. I know this summer it was cracking quite literally, but no, it's breaking apart in many ways. And it's along these ideological lines, the space war, space commies versus space capitalists or cowboys. Commenter says, Democrats are politically uneducated, normie NPCs, and visually illiterate. We're getting pretty stupid. We're already in the metaverse. The fact that so much of the news is fake means we're already in it. Your head may as well be in the TV screen. You have a TV over your head like a space helmet, and you're looking out through the screen. You're in it. All right, let's continue. 737 said, Hitler's face flashed when the towers fell. Okay, do you remember that tabloid story from the Weekly World News where it was like the devil's face in the Twin Towers? Now that I'm looking at this as a scripted event, you have to take these things as direct messages they inserted into these things. So I don't believe this was an organic effect with the smoke. I believe this was a leaked photo, part of the production. A little bit of artistic license from Stanley Kubrick. That's probably what we're looking at here. I haven't seen Hitler, I've seen the devil, and I saw another one. I wouldn't know how to search it. but it looks like a man and a woman in the two towers that are crumbling. If somebody wants to find it, I'm not going to search it, but now check this out. This is also worth reiterating here. We've talked about this, but the significance here, it's hard to overstate it. You're looking at a man falling from the twin tower, one of the towers. This is the hanged man picture, the falling man they call it. So the falling man photo is owned by Sir Elton John. So Sir Elton John actually bought this morbid photo. It was photographed by Richard Drew. And the other thing about Richard Drew that is also interesting is that he also photographed RFK as he was falling to his death. So he photographs two people falling to their deaths. What's the connection here? There's a few connections. RFK, when you get into the symbolism and stuff, was 42, shot with a 22. And 42 is often associated with falling, as we've pointed out here. I would also say there's something significant about the way that his leg is crossed, which we could probably get into. But my point is, this is just another, the photographer constitutes another Kennedy 9/11 connection. And this is one of the common themes here. These nods, these inside hints that there's a Kubrick production at work here. But no, I haven't seen Hitler's face, but I'll be interested to see it if you want to post it. I mean, the whole thing was a CGI production. There were no jumpers, if anybody's wondering about that. That's been explained again and again. How the pneumatic cannons, dummies, Photoshop. There are many other giveaways, but let's see. Diana South says the word Antichrist is not in the book of Revelation. More false teachings by biblically illiterate. Okay, interesting. Well, when it comes to the Antichrist concept, I don't even think it's a truly biblical concept. People really take their license with the Bible. But no, if you ask me, the common story of this bad guy and this Antichrist narrative, the one that storyline has been superimposed onto the world stage today. The mark of the beast stuff. That stuff's not coincidentally implanted on everything having to do with the vax. This is all stuff. I think it's just part of the Psy-War. But like, look at AstraZeneca. Look at their logo and tell me you're not looking at a triple six or three sixes. You have this mark of the beast built into this entire psyop. And of course, I think this is part of the polarization, the schism, and the split. This dialectic they've created between the needle and the bullet. Or the needle, like you had guns versus needles, right wing versus left. The pro-gun side is anti-vax. The pro-mandatory vax side is anti-gun. It all has to do with one's relationship to power, to government. And when it comes down to it, borders. Your skin being a border. Not a coincidence that the pro-gun that believes in defending their own property believes in national boundaries. And they believe in their own immune system. Whereas the anti-gun, pro-vax or pro-mandatory vaxxers, they're open borders. Open borders, open skin. And they also believe that the government has the immune system, not the self. So it's not about self-defense. The government defends you. Not just with guns, but with the injectable immune system. It's just a perfectly polarized split. So I never really bought it as, oh, they're going to make everybody carry the mark of the beast or whatever. They said that about the driver's license. They said that about the Social Security card. And by all definitions, I think that if there is such a thing, we've already pretty much been sold out to it. I mean, I would say that the TV is an altar to Satan in many ways, or whoever runs this world. The black monolith, the black screen. Maxwell Cooper says the beast of the sea is the Antichrist, so is the Kraken. Fascinating. Fenris Unchained says icebergs, krakens both sink ships. See, the Kraken could be a metaphor. It could be a metaphor perhaps for collectivism, for world communism, for this mass awakening, the overthrowing of something. It could just be a metaphor for this rousing of a leviathan. It doesn't have to be a big squid, although that would be believed by the masses. And they kind of have set the stage if you look into the overlapping stories of the spacecraft cemetery, where they drop all their used satellites. All their spent satellites get dropped at Point Nemo. That happens to be the place where the giant kraken squid-headed god Cthulhu is resting, according to H.P. Lovecraft. So there is this area in the ocean, this remote place associated with falling objects from the sky, also associated with the slumbering but soon to awaken thing that fits all the definition of a kraken. John Snyder said, I saw a new Lincoln Kennedy connection. 10 days before he was shot, he was in Monroe, Maryland. And 10 days before JFK got offed, he was in Maryland, Monroe. Yeah, there are a number of those. Some of them may be urban myths, I don't know, but the dates line up. Another one, Kennedy gets his blood splattered on a Ford Lincoln. Lincoln gets his blood splattered in a Ford theater. Lots of interesting connections between these two, and we'll probably get into those. And if you really want to go deep, look, I mean, JFK and the Kennedys and all the major psyops are connected through this Stanley Kubrick storyline that actually connects a number of his films. But it's fascinating. Even thanks someone. We appreciate the support. And yeah, that was Godzilla. Speaking of Kraken-like things, and the Godzilla sound effect is basically represents the infinite plane society and what happens once we get past all of the hurdles placed there by government operatives. I mean, hopefully these trolls were well paid for their work, because I don't know how it's going to pay off in the end. You know, I don't care if you work for the DoD. If you purchased 40 plus domains in order to steal traffic from someone, you can't get away from that. I mean, that's a property crime in progress. Side note, I mean, there's a couple of lawsuits. In fact, I was writing a newsletter to kind of clarify so everyone knows who's suing who and what I'm talking about whenever these things come up. Oh, anyway, JFK. J is 10, F is 6, K is 11. So that's kind of interesting. If you flip it, you do get 9/11/01. And another one, this is kind of interesting too, because you consider all these various events to be 9/11. It's not just 9/11. There are many events that connect to 9/11 symbolically. We talk about the George Floyd, Derek Chauvin event frequently because 8:46, that's the time that Chauvin knelt on Floyd. 8:46 is the time that 9/11 started. They use these numbers to communicate this story, and it's pretty consistent all around. I mean, even Timothy McVeigh, executed on a 6/11/01. Okay, well, 6/11/01 kind of has a 9/11 built in there, but also he was inspired by the Turner Diaries. Of course, the Turner Diaries, brought to life by the McCloskeys in 2020. The Turner Diaries, written by Andrew MacDonald, and if you look into the author's birth date, 9/11/33. So there's another 9/11 connected to Timothy McVeigh, another 9/11, like an American OBO, an American terrorist, an American white Al-Qaeda, Osama martyr character. And by the way, McVeigh was killed at the age of 33. So many side notes, but they're all connected because I'm suggesting that this Stanley Kubrick thing goes beyond Apollo 11, and it goes into the 9/11s, it goes into the major racial psyops. There's a lot of fingerprints here. I can point to Tom Clancy, I can point to Spike Lee, I can point to, I guess, Alan Moore would be another major meta scripter in this unfolding world stage drama. So it's not just Kubrick, but it's definitely a drama, and you can see whose fingerprints are all over this thing. Anyway, let me go back through some comments here. Kind of got behind a little bit. We've been joined by that SOB. Rich Flat says giant squids from space. I've seen squids from space in the news lately. And then in The Watchmen, and there's plenty we could say about that HBO series. In The Watchmen, you have a kraken falls on New York. Linda Curtis says, in my opinion, the Kraken is the new Moses parting of the waters. Info overload, splitting of the mind. If you pay General Flynn enough money for a private consultation, he's going to tell you, because I heard this from somebody, they left a message for me. Apparently, General Flynn is telling the people in his inner circle that China is going to do an EMP, and anybody who's been vaxxed is going to have a head explosion, like scanners. So if you know someone who's triple vaxxed, tell them to put on a helmet. Not just because when they fall you want to protect their heads, because they will, but also you just don't want that splatter to get in your eyes if you're driving. All right, let's see here. Yeah, the Pangzilla, the Godzilla thing though. I brought that up because I'd say in a few months, when all these things are resolved, I think we're going to metastasize. And I've been working on lateral expansion. That's why we have the Conspiracy Radio Network we're working with. I think it's important to build a network. Because when I first got into YouTube, it was mostly unregulated. It was just kind of the Wild West. And you could have group discussions all night. And what would happen is hanging out in the chat with people would get really entertaining in and of itself. So you had this group watching experience, and then you would move to another live stream, and then another. And we would basically kind of move around like a swarm of bees or a raft of penguins or whatever. And it's like a pestilence. We'd spread across YouTube. And it was sort of a decentralized online community of people of like mind who were all absorbed with media deconstruction. And it was very productive, and they more or less destroyed it on YouTube. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to recreate this environment in a decentralized fashion on platforms that we control. And I'm talking basically what we have here, but far more integrated. And of course, what we're doing is work. It's research. It's media analysis. And it's definitely entertaining and it's fun, and that's what makes it so problematic for the powers that be. Like the fact that I watch CNN when I want something to laugh at. When I just, it's just comedy. It's entertainment for all the wrong reasons. Kind of like I went to watch Moonfall, and I'm pretty sure I was laughing at all the wrong times because nobody else was. But it's kind of a side note. Claptrap says chat raids are considered cyberbullying now. Yeah, they've had to put up walls. I think we kind of exposed a few weaknesses, a few loopholes, a few cracks in their matrix, and they had to seal those up. Maxwell says it's hard to take people seriously that take CNN seriously. Yeah, I can't really watch it these days so much. I'm traumatized by Don Lemon. Don Lemon's Lemons. Don Lemon did the most disgusting thing, and he's in court over it, and it bewilders me. He's approached by some guy in a bar, and Don Lemon inexplicably just does the grossest thing in the world. I don't even want to describe it. It was vigorous what he did. It was described as vigorous what he did. And then he put his hand in the guy's face like a bully. I mean, I don't even want to know. Just like I could see zoo animals behaving that way. And the guy is just obviously power tripping. But the fact is, that's their company culture. I'm pretty sure below CNN there's a pizza dungeon. And by pizza dungeon, I mean like a place where you play ping pong and have pizza, but when nobody's looking, it's all frazzle drip. Like I'm pretty sure that's going on. All right, let's see. I don't want to talk about this again. Volva spacecraft concept aims to disrupt the space industry with a powerful message. It's real. It's as real as anything else that they send into space. So, you know what that means. The accelerated advancement of space tourism, together with the expansion of the space industry in multiple areas around the world, is leading to all types of innovation in terms of technology, science, and design. And this is not even the Babylon Bee. But it's kind of strange how, like a broken clock, right, twice a day. Sometimes the media or sometimes people who are absorbed in it, who are on the world stage, total blue pillars, sometimes they see things as they are. It's rare. NASA will be opening a pristine 50-year-old lunar sample. Again, if you find a piece of moon rock, you're just going to have to drop it off somewhere and just call the police and let them know where it is, because NASA will show up with a SWAT team. They will drag you out of your house, they will rough you up, and they will take it from you because they don't want people to know. Because if you look through a microscope at a moon rock, you will find out that, yeah, it's just wood. Claptrap said, did he grab the guy like Trump's pickup line? Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Whatever he did, it was just bizarre. And I'm just saying, like, um, it just conflicts with his nice guy persona on TV. But we called it out way in advance. You know, I had postulated, and we put this into an episode of South Pole, that Governor Cuomo was selling his brother Andrew to the Minister of Unhealth, Maggie the Block, you know, the big Jabba the Hutt character, that he was selling his brother to Maggie the Block for higher death tolls so he could have more power in the big rotten apple. And that was just a storyline, kind of a guess, and I'm pretty sure that's exactly what was happening. What was with all the ministries of untruth? Have you seen such a collection? Like this was like Adam's Family stuff. Let me bring this one up. Maggie the Block. And these names. This is a world stage name. The Block. That's like a World Wrestling Federation name. Some really big guy calling the Block. And I'm like 99% sure that this is a costume. It's like Ann Coulter in a Sidney Powell costume in a Maggie the Block. This is layers. This is a fat suit over a fat suit. And this person is telling us to regulate our intimate behaviors, to wear masks in bed, to wear masks when we shower. This is your health authority. Looks like a South Pole character. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let me go ahead and go to my voicemails. Again, the number is 833-311-1984. Again, 311, second anniversary, second hoax anniversary of the pandemic is on Friday. 311. Again, 311 also scarred by Fukushima, so maybe. And also, one other thing. Last year, I said watch the skies on 311, and NASA dropped the biggest piece of space junk in space history when they dropped, it was like 3 tons of batteries into the ocean on 311 last year. And I noticed that these things tend to run on cycles. Jordan says it looks fat suity. Linda says, pretty funny, rockets that look like a phallus go to the moon and bring back wood. Yeah, I don't know what it is about the wooden moon rocks, but to me it's like, if you're going to believe they landed on the moon, you have to stick with that. You have to stick with the evidence. Like, I'm not stuck with that. I'm not saddled with a silly conspiracy theory about astronauts on the moon. I don't have to kowtow to that BS story that people accept on faith. But if you are one of these persons, thoroughly gaslit, cognitively dissonant, bullshit, if you have been bullshitted to the point where you believe this, then you explain the wooden moon rocks. Not my problem. You believe the moon is made out of wood. What a joke. If you believe in the moon landings, you're a wooden mooner. I'd rather be a flat earther than a wooden mooner. Okay, I have a voicemail here.
Hi, I would like to listen to Dark Matter Digital Network again. It's been a while. And for some reason, I cannot get it to play and look.
Yeah, let me clarify on that. I was program manager for the Dark Matter Digital Network, but it's presently down until probably April. They're reconstituting, they're getting some new hosts. So it's in the dark. Dark Matter is in the dark at the moment. Regrettably, it's not up to me. Otherwise, it would be on full steam. I have a lot of great hosts who are interested in taking part on that. So it will happen, though. It's inevitable, so I'm not rushing things. But in the meantime, I highly recommend you go to conspiratainment.live or conspiratainment.blog or conspiratained.com. Just search conspiratainment. We're really trying hard to own this word, which was made into a dirty word by the MSM, like conspiracist. And I thought, if they're going to take away, and they've done this, they've taken away conspiracy theorists, because it makes it sound like you have an intellect and you have a theory. And they replaced it with, oh no, you're a conspiracist. So that now you are fundamentally a hateful person because you don't believe the news. So I decided we're not doing this out of hate. We're doing this out of philosophy, which is love. We're doing this out of love. So the MSM wants to charge us with hate crimes when, no, we actually love our work. This is entertaining. So the word conspirataining was invented by the media to bash people who are entertained by these horrible conspiracy theories. And I'm thinking this is a word that we have to appropriate. Right now, there's 26 people listening at Conspiratainment Radio. And what you have with this is basically a network of people who, such as this channel, channels and podcasts that are all post media that know about the fakery. So you don't have to wade through different hosts at various levels of political correctness. And you know what's really hypocritical? There are so many on the right, especially alt-right, who are always lambasting the left for their woke political correctness. Well, guess what? If you're not calling out crisis actors, you're politically correct. You are a politically correct MSM cuck if you can't call out the psychological operations. And so that's why we have this network. The people on CRN, the Conspiratainment Radio Network, are all hand-picked, and these are all people who they've been vetted by us, so you'll like whoever you hear. Right now we have Crater Earth USA, mentioned them earlier, and the newest edition is familiar with Chalk Body Outline. Well, he has a new podcast. It's called Vocal Fry with Layla and Drew. I'll put a link in the chat if you want to check that out. RJ's joined us, says, I was around in the beginning of Infinite Plane Society back in the day. Yeah, thanks for joining. So there, I put a link in the chat if you want to check it out. It's another addition to the network, and I'm adding more people all the time. I'm reaching out to different individuals, so let us continue. Angst G says that lady is huge. Yep. She's your health authority, though. I mean, see, this has got to be gaslighting. It's got to be a joke. It's some kind of a sick joke. All right, Celestial Wonders. Do you want to call in? 833-311-1984. All right, let's continue. SpaceX launches 48 more Starlink satellites on an American broomstick. So the Russians are making fun of America's rockets. So you can kind of get the subtext here. They're saying that America's rockets are like broomsticks. They're too skinny. They don't have any... Anyway, it's just this... My rocket's better than your rocket thing. It's very puerile. But my point is, they've called America's rockets broomsticks. So right now, it's a lot of name calling. And it's Twitter spats. So this space war, I mean, I guess I'm a critic of it. I'm not impressed. This space war is Twitter spats, name calling, and that's about it so far. Threats. All right, let's see what else we have here. Sleepy Random says glowy in a fat suit. It may not be a suit, but the point is they're putting individuals in front of you, I think, to shock your sensibilities. I mean, would you get a tattoo from somebody with no tattoos? Would you eat something from a cook who wouldn't eat his own cooking? It's like, why would you listen to any of these health ministers? They look newly resurrected dead. They look like Cenobites. You know, from the Hellraiser series. Infinite Plane Radio. Hey, what's up, caller? Can you hear me okay?
How's it going, Tim?
Pretty good. Just marveling at the fakery today. Is anything real anymore from your perspective?
Dude, I know, you know what's real is my wife passed away on February 1st, 2022, 37 days ago. She was 53 years old. She got a blood clot that led to a heart attack. She was not vaccinated, but she took and worked with people to get them vaccinated every day. Unfortunately, to her job, even though she was against it, she had to take these. She worked with handicapped people that were disabled.
Sorry to hear that. And you're saying she did not take it?
She was not vaccinated. Right. But I think she ended up, the day before she passed, the first week she was sick as a dog, right? The week before she passed. She had the flu. They tested her weekly. She said that they said she didn't have COVID or whatever, coronavirus. And Then the second week, excuse me, when she was getting ready to go back to work, she was taking a shower the weekend before. And she's like, honey, come check this out. And I looked at her back, and I said, baby, that looks like shingles on your back, right? And so
Well, hey,
I'm like, make
look,
an
I hate to
appointment.
cut you off here, but I gotta say
Yeah,
this really quick
yeah,
here. I gotta say this really quick here. Um, long and short of it, what are you actually saying here? Are you saying that this was some kind
well,
of
I think that
osmosis, some kind of
the
transmission?
shedding, bro.
See, because this
I
is the
think that the shedding
look.
is real, bro.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Well, I'm sorry for your loss. I personally don't believe this
yeah,
shedding thing, but if it is true,
right,
I haven't seen any evidence for it. I don't believe that magnets stick to people, and I think that
right,
people will. I mean, I can't say in particular, but the idea that an unvaxxed person caught something from a vaxxed person, I'm sorry, that sounds like Alex
right,
Jones, MTG level false information. I don't necessarily believe that's
yeah.
true.
Well, yeah, I didn't think so either. I honestly didn't, but I don't know. They're saying that you can catch it from. Anyway, I don't know, man. This
I
whole
personally,
Russian thing.
I think it's all a psyop. I really don't believe there's anything, and I don't think there's any causal link between an underheated bowl of bat soup and anything here in America. Everything else is just conjecture and hearsay, and there are so many crisis actors in the field, I see no reason to take any of it as true according to the mainstream narrative. So it's just non sequitur. Sorry for your loss. Appreciate the call.
Yeah, man.
833-311-1984. Look, I'm not calling the guy a crisis actor, but I'm calling the guy potentially a crisis actor. I have to guess your intentions. It's just too personal of a thing, and you can't use a personal tragedy as leverage to control a conversation and spread some already debunked BS. Check this out. There was that new 9/11 video, and we have an explanation now for why it was probably not released until just recently. It's this. When the plane was crossing the smoke, there was a CGI glitch. The wing actually disappeared. Total fraud. This is from Texas Patriot at Noble Butts. If you want to follow him on Twitter, Noble Butts. Fraud. Total fraud. The plane is a crude CGI rendering. Here are some screenshots from that video. The image breaks up in the smoke, and no attempt is made to create a realistic plane crash. All of the planes in the videos from 9/11 were crude computer graphics. So the video that was recently released, that was conspicuously 8 minutes and 46 seconds long, shows another view of the plane smashing into the tower that we've all seen, and we've been familiar with it, but it's a longer shot and you hear more public reactions, but you can clearly see the plane has a CGI glitch. Sleepy Random says caller is glowing. Yeah, I'm suggesting glowing. Look, I don't buy it. And you know what? Here's something else too. I didn't even know about crisis actors. I didn't look into the idea that people lie. I mean, in your own life, people lie, they manipulate, they play with your emotions. It's called marketing. It's called relationships. But I didn't know about the crisis actor thing until it was pointed out to me. I think I overheard something, and I started digging in. And at the time, I was working in the death care profession. I worked as a decedent transporter. David says you could have asked him about a different topic. I think he was being disingenuous. It was too much of a setup. I think he was lying, okay? And if I think someone's being disingenuous and they're just putting out flaggable content, no thanks. Because, they can get the channel shut down. This is what glowies do. They'll call in and they'll say, my neighbor got vaxxed and I caught something from him and now my leg is shedding all over the floor and I got black goo dripping out of my bumhole. They'll say this stuff and then you get banned. I'm sorry, but that's just where they are at. It's like, look, there's no black goo, there's no magnetic stuff. Vaxophobia is a massive psyop. It's like right-wing gunnophobia. I get tired of the gunnophobes. And then I see anti-vaxxers playing dead in the streets with big, plastic props that look like big needles so they can play dead. It's like you guys are just as bad as the shooting hoaxers. Sorry. And look, again, glowing means probably an agent. And I'm also saying I don't believe that there's anything in it other than a political schism. And I think I've been vindicated in this. Unless any of you can point out Vaxageddon. Yeah, I'm sorry I said that. Don't shed on me. Look, I think it's ridiculous. I just think it's ridiculous. And I tried my hardest in 2020. Um, I I analyzed all the information. I realized this is all a psyop early on. 2021, I'm like, okay, anti-vaxxers, you've had your fun. Let's go ahead and pack it up. Next psyop is coming. It's going to be space wars. Now it's 2022, and people are still clinging to expired propaganda from a psyop they're no longer really financing. COVID is dead. Shout out to Putin. Diana South says many crisis actors playing COVID. Why don't you call in and tell us? Give us your anecdotal information because I've seen many dancing, twerking nurses. I've seen a lot of empty tents. I've seen simulations. We've seen dummies. We've seen plastic bodies. We've seen really a whole lot of chicanery. So if you want to show us also the death spikes, I mean, you can find examples of this person was driving in their car and they wore the mask too tight. They passed out and they hit a light pole and they died of COVID. This person was shot in the head, died of COVID. So much malfeasance. So you want to be an advocate for the biggest psyop of this generation, this massive power grab, this massive mind f. Yeah, be my guest. Call in and defend the worst performed psyop of all time. None of it was believable. If you believe it, you weren't paying attention. Linda Curtis says stress and fear is the number one killer, always has been. Yeah, when I was in the military, my MOS was 54 Bravo, and one of the things they said about decontamination was sunlight. Sunlight and airflow. So I was like, wow, that's interesting. They're saying lock down in your house, stale air, don't get any sun, and just stare at the TV, absorb the fear porn all day. Like, okay, yeah, that's going to be good for people. And then, of course, you're in close quarters. You're in this really unsanitary, sickly, dark, lockdown environment, experiencing all the psychological trauma they can dish out at you. And then any symptom you get is now COVIDs. It's like everybody has COVIDs all of a sudden. It's like, no, it's weaponized hypochondria. It's a mind virus, always has been. If you want to call right back, caller, I accidentally clicked the red button. See, commenter says Putin is a globalist. Yeah, they all work together behind the scenes. If they didn't work together behind the scenes, they wouldn't be cooperating with the Antarctic Treaty and the space station. They guard you above and below at the perimeters. Infinite Plane Society. Hey, what's up, caller? Can you hear me okay? Okay, give it just one moment here. It looks like, there we go.
How you doing?
Hey, what's up? How you doing
Hey,
today?
man. Good, good. I just wanted to let you know that I'm not a crisis actor, and I wouldn't lie about my wife passing away. All right. My name is RJ. I've known you for years. Well, I don't know you personally, but I was
Okay,
around
hey, I
when we
appreciate
did
the
the
call
flat
back.
Earth.
I just want to ask, do you understand where I'm coming from, though? Why I have to be careful
Well,
about...
yeah, I can understand, definitely, yeah. And I wouldn't say black goo or anything like that, dude. I was just trying to tell you, I was trying to actually relieve some stress from myself by talking to you guys and
Cool. Well, hey,
getting
call
some
in
stuff
anytime, and
off
if you
my
want to keep
chest.
talking about it, tell us the rest then. I don't mean to be dismissive like that. However, I had an incident, well, it was a few, back to back, it was in October, where some guy called, and in 3 different targeted phone calls, he said just the right things to get us pulled. So I'm just
Yeah,
wary.
I
But
wouldn't do
but
anything like
anyway,
that, man.
I'm sorry for your loss, and if it was what you're suggesting, then it's obviously the biggest crime against humanity of all time.
I don't know, but all I know is that I was right there with her, and I thank God for that, man. But
Why don't you
so
tell us
she
about
wasn't
that?
alone.
How did you arrive at the topic of the Earth not being a ball?
Well, that that's a funny one. I was searching for a reason why that the space shuttle doesn't come in at a lower speed. Because remember the one that blew up? I think it was in 2012 on reentry.
Yeah.
It shattered all over the place. So I was looking around trying to find a reason why. I typed in like NASA reentry slower speed, and I actually found the Matt Powell video. This was before journalism and all those people were around. It must have been around 2012. So I found the Matt Powell video where he's wearing the mirrored glasses, and he says, they didn't have technology to get up high enough to see if what we believed for years was true, and if they found out they were wrong, would they tell us? And that just struck me as like, wow, these guys are definitely lying to us. It just seemed so legit, you know, the way he put it, and it was a comedy routine, but still, it struck me as legit.
It's a powerful point. I mean, it's sort of cynical, but it's like, do you trust your government to not?
Absolutely not.
When it comes to something like unlimited resources, more land. I mean, who knows if
Right.
this idea that they are hiding something, then clearly there's a motivation there. And now they're about to go mine space, and I'm like, I wonder where that's going to come from.
Right. Yeah, I don't know about that. They should worry about fixing this place here before they go destroying other. Well, they're not going out anywhere, that's for sure. I mean, I like the whole like outer space is the outer rim and all that stuff. I'm 54 years old, and I was born in '67.
Okay, so you were born at the dawn.
I'm like the last year. We didn't have computers in my 8th, 9th, and 10th grade. We had typewriters, so that tells you where my generation. But we were around for the first computer gaming. We gamed in '99 when it took 3 days to download a 300 meg file on dial-up, and we duct taped the phone so nobody would pick it up and disconnect it. Those were the days. We used a game called Half-Life. We played, and we used this thing called Roger Wilco for voice communication.
So you were born,
but it was pretty cool.
You actually grew up in the meatverse. Now everyone today, they're born in the metaverse. So you've actually had the experience of of having existed in the real, well, as real as it could have been.
It was great. Right, yeah. Well, what we think is real anyway, right?
Yeah.
I'm questioning everything now, man. I'm questioning everything, and I'm actually, I don't have any kids, and I'm coming home from work right now. I talked to you a few times before.
Well, let me run this by you, because Douglas Trumbull recently passed, and this was the guy who did the special effects for 2001: A Space Odyssey. And before he died, this was like last year in an interview, he said that the special effects from 50 years ago that he did look better than today's CGI. So I had this theory that they're dumbing down the public visually. And what do you think? Do you think that the movies, the special effects, do you think that we've been put into a video game universe to dumb us down, as I do?
We've definitely been dumbed down. We have definitely been dumbed down. I mean, I've learned more in the past 10 years than 20 years than I did all my life. Yeah, I remember when they told me when I was a kid in school that the earth is spinning. I went outside and I jumped up and down and I said, no, it's not. Because if it was spinning when I jumped up, I'd be 2 feet over there, That was my psychology back then.
There's an answer for that, but yeah, I understand the basic you question.
Inertia.
But yeah, their explanation is wonderful. They're like, oh, well, the atmosphere moves with it. Everything is consistent within the model. You have to really think outside the globe to actually understand what it would mean if it isn't a globe. Anyway, Auto Hoax in the chat wants to know, is this Richie from Boston? No, this is RJ.
No, but I know Richie from Boston. He was actually the same age as me. We were born in the same year, and he lives about 20 miles north of me. I live in Plymouth, Massachusetts. I was born and raised there. No, but I know Richie, and I wish I could. I actually might adopt that lifestyle now because I got nothing here, man. I might be hitting overland and I'll save up some money and just head out.
I heard he's selling his Jeep. I heard Richie's selling his Jeep.
Oh, man. He is. Man, that's good to know. I don't know. He's got a lot of miles on that thing, that's for sure. But those overlanders, that FJ 80, I think, is what he has, right? That thing is.
Yeah, I saw a 33 on the license plate. God, I thought it was suspicious. But anyway, no, I like Richie from Boston. I've never actually spoken to him, but I have.
You want to hear something even more messed up than that, dude? You want to hear something even more messed up? My mother was born in 1933, right? And I sent this. I think I sent this to Richie. Was it Richie? I mailed someone this coincidence, and they wouldn't even respond. Who the hell was it? Who's the big 33? Oh, it was Russian Vids. That's right. Dude, my mother was born in 1933. All right. She had me when she was 33. All right. She passed away when I was 33. She was 66, and she passed away in room 303 in a place called Toby Hospital in Wareham, Mass. On 11/12/2000. I don't know what the 11/12 has to do with it, but that's just messed up. She was born in 33. She had me, which I'm the youngest of 7. She had
Okay,
me when she was
that's
33. She passed away when I was 33. And I'm like Scottish. I'm actually got Scottish heritage, but Scottish and
that's
Norwegian,
one of those things
Viking
though
type of thing.
where we notice patterns in the media. We're breaking down synchronicity, what appear to be just synchronicities, but appear to be, to me, intentional planning. But then you find patterns in your own life. Like, I was talking the other day
Right,
about how Tom Cruise divorced every one of his wives at 33. Just bizarre, weird things like that. But, I mean, in your case, these are random things that you couldn't have planned. Does it make you think that
right.
there's predestination?
It makes me think like when I hear some things like, oh, this guy's got a 33, when they were ragging on what's his name there, High Impact Vids for having the 33. That it can happen organically, and stuff like that. I don't
Right.
know.
Well, hey,
I mean,
RJ, appreciate the call very much. And there's a guy in the chat,
all right, brother.
P. Trippa says he's in your area. So if you want to hit up P.
No
Trippa,
kidding.
he says he will buy you a beer.
I gave up drinking 14, no, 15 years ago when I met my wife, and I'm gonna keep that torch going. I was bad. I was out of control, man.
Awesome. Well, hey,
But
thanks for calling, and I
I'd
apologize if I
love to have
was.
a coffee, bro.
Yeah,
Give the dude my email, and I can. Shit, my wife was buried at Shepherd's Funeral Home in Carver,
yeah.
Massachusetts.
He'll
So
he'll he'll
I'm
hit you up
not
in the
lying to
chat.
you about that, bro.
Look, yeah, I apologize if I sounded insensitive earlier, but we're
Not
very
a problem.
objective uh, media.
Yeah, I can understand, dude. Definitely, I understand. But yeah, and I didn't call back all angry and stuff like that because I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, well,
And I
actually, I
know I didn't
recognize your
want to touch
voice. I
the.
recognize your voice. I'm glad you called
I didn't.
back.
All right, I didn't want to touch the Russian subject because I think that's kind of bad. But I got a lot of theories on that as well.
Actually, I would like to hear,
Yeah.
because I've been looking
Yeah.
at the Russian thing as an auto hoaxer would, just extremely skeptical, and I haven't seen anything that makes me think it's anything other
Well,
than a
what
major
about the nuke
theater.
theory, dude? Like, if all right, say Russia wanted to plant nukes in Mexico, would you think we're going to let that happen? The
Hmm.
whole idea is that what I'm hearing from certain people is that Russia, well, our government infiltrated their government, the Ukrainian government, from years ago, and they want to plant nukes there in Ukraine, along with I guess they got like 28 what the hell do they call them places? Like the Wuhan lab. They have 28 of them in the Ukraine that Obama made. I mean, no, Obama, that's his name. I was going to say Osama, pretty much the same guy, isn't it? But anyway, the and they don't want them planting the nukes there. Russia's taking that as a threat to their, they take that as a serious threat because then they'll, I read also that he threw the Jacob Rothschild out of the friggin' country back in 2015. Actually, it was November 15, 2015. He threw the whole group out, paid off the banking cartel, and told them to get the hell out of his country. He wanted nothing to do with their one world
Well,
government. But
we'll see,
who
but
knows?
whatever they do, you know what? It's going to be like COVID's over, but keep your mask because
Yeah.
radioactive fallout is next. Hey, thanks for the call.
Yeah.
Call back anytime.
All right, then take it easy, brother.
All right, thanks. All right, everyone, that was RJ. All right, let's see here. Linda Curtis says 33 is not an evil number. I don't think any numbers are inherently evil, but the number 33 has been consistently associated with Freemasonic sorcery, order out of chaos rituals, mass trauma-induced mind control. So, yeah, I would say if there is an evil number, 33 is pretty evil. Friday on 311, asteroid 138971, which is huge and, quote, potentially dangerous and 3 times bigger than the Empire State Building, will likely kill us all. So don't look up on Friday, 311. Tyrone McCloskey says Mexico is the new Cuba Missile Crisis. I like it. Now, I don't believe in nukes, but it's all a show. It's all just world stage theater. They'll say duck and cover. It's all gone full circle. Your grandparents ducked and covered, and then you ducked under the desks because of the school shooters, and then your kids are ducking under, well, not ducking under, but they're kind of ducking and covering. They wear the masks when they go to the restaurants. When they sit down in the cafeteria, they take the mask off. It's kind of like ducking and covering would actually protect you from COVID, in other words. Get down on the floor or sit down in a restaurant booth and it'll go above your head. Get down on the floor and the school shooter, the bowl cut won't take you out. And and the nuke, of course, you'll be protected from the nuke if you duck and cover beneath your desk. I think someone in the Discord server, maybe it was Salty Siren, had pointed out, we have these big terror threats that they use to menace each generation. And the nuke threat, duck and cover, replaced by the school shooter. The school shooters are typified as having bowl cuts. That's why we call them bowl cut shooters. It's like the NWO PSYOP department only has one, hair guy, and he's just terrible. But they all have bowl cuts. I think it's a symbol. I figured it's a symbol of poverty, of being unhip, uncool, an outsider, poor white kid, aggrieved, angry, the bowl cut. But someone had pointed out in Discord that the bowl cut kind of looks like a mushroom cloud when you just look at the silhouette and the shape of it. How these various threats, these various symbols, they often kind of mirror one another. But anyway, duck and covering. Diana South says, I ducked and took cover in school. I must be old. What a completely useless exercise. And if you ask me, here's what it is. Ducking and covering in whether you're ducking and covering to the new crown, novel corona, or the nuke, or the school shooter, you're actually just kneeling. You're genuflecting to the power of the state. And so the nuclear warhead is just a big obelisk. It's Osiris, it's Big Brother, it's the world government, and you are kneeling, you're cowering before. It's like the Wizard of Oz. All right, let me see. I'm going to scroll through comments here, see if I've missed anything. Sleepy Random says, I keep seeing the number 666. I never see 33s. And what we're looking at, for the most part, is a cult that is astrotheological. It's based on the celestial storylines, archaic as it may sound. And let me point this out too, just to show you how integrated everything that you know is with this story of the sun and its personification, its journey through the 4 seasons. 52 cards represent 52 weeks in a year. Red and black symbolize night and day. The 4 suits are the 4 seasons. There are 13 cards in a suit to match the number of lunar cycles, and 12 court cards that represent the 12 months of the year. If you add up all the symbols in the deck, they add up to 365. So again, this is just showing you how integrated this is, and this of course is where these come from, the tarot cards. Just like the Bible, it's all a personification of the sun. Same with the tarot cards, and these playing cards are the 4 suits are based on the same ones from the tarot cards. So the hearts and the cups are the same. Pentacles and diamonds are the same, and so on. Maxwell said, we had earthquake drills under the desk. Tyrone says, the exercise was to traumatize kids, effective for general obedience programming. Yeah, in my opinion, it's part of inducing Stockholm Syndrome, because they want you to be afraid of guns. They want you to be scared to death of guns. But not when the gun is held by the guys in the black uniforms with the stormtrooper outfits. So it's like, wait a minute here. Why fear these guns and not these guns? Because the guns from the state protect you. Meanwhile, you're a captive audience. You're a captive audience, you can't leave. And so you're actually being traumatized by the drills. And the drills are being conducted by your protectors. So the dynamic here is your captor or your kidnapper is both your terrorist and your savior. And this is what causes Stockholm Syndrome, when the kidnapped person who has no options aligns their own survival interests with their captor, and so they identify with and fall in love with their captors. So what we're looking at here is people are falling in love with Big Brother because he's my hero, he saves you. Big Brother is your rescuer from this universal ubiquitous terrorist threat that you always see on TV and in the movies. All right, let me see here. Going through comments. I am Key Sirzos 923 says Global ID Social Credit Score Control Grid. Yeah, that's coming. Rocco says 22 is my favorite number. I see it everywhere. Yeah, 22 is very big this year, especially with the Pluto Return thing. And it's all intentional. because you'll see it's within the mass media. And just like with the word crack we were talking about earlier, it's a lot of what we do here is we're analyzing the big patterns. That's how we were able to so accurately predict this space war. Scott Kelly and Russian space chief engaging in Twitter fight over Ukraine. Twitter fight. I like how they use these words, like you can actually hurt people with memes, like physically hurt them. Memes kill. And the same people who are grabbing your guns are now going to go for your memes. They're coming for your memes next. All right, if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's real Tim Osman, and that's where I put a lot of my notes for tonight if you've been wondering what I've been scrolling through. Let me go ahead and continue through my minds.com as well. All right. John Wayne Gacy docu-series is coming out. Can't wait. It's going to be in March. So it's the 42nd anniversary of the John Wayne Gacy crimes being discovered. He's convicted of having killed 33. There's that number again. I don't know. I mean, it is interesting how they went from serial killers to mass shooters. But I don't know how many of these events were real versus psyops. And whenever I look back, they all have the hallmarks of being psychological operations. Which is good news. You know, when you tell people, hey, this event might have been faked, they usually have a very bad reaction to it. Like, how dare you say nobody got their legs blown off at the Boston Marathon? It's like, wait a minute here. Isn't that like good news? Let's see. Speaking of Russians, by the way, Russian vids. RJ brought him up. Russian vids is now RV Truth. So be on the lookout for an RV driving around like van lifestyle, disseminating truth. I haven't seen the RV Truth yet, but no, he's no longer Russian vids. For those of you who thought masks worked, here's a bomb shelter. I don't know who released this. Was it DHS or CDC? Some government agency that really cares about you put this meme out there. For those of you that thought masks work, a bomb shelter. Basically, it's a cardboard box. Man, how many comedians have fallen on their heads in the last couple of weeks? Because I was saying too that we're going to see helmets for space junk. And this is all kind of interesting and ironic because there's this constant correlation being made between outer space and inner space. And this is something that I've spoken on at length. Like, so for example, Aliens Among Us, which is the title of an Economist magazine from August of 2020. It has this image on the cover of outer space, and it looks just like, well, no, it's inner space, but it looks just like outer space. It's interchangeable is my point. So are you looking at a planet with a moon and some rockets and a satellite? No, you're looking at AIDS and bacterium, some kind of microorganisms in the bloodstream. You're looking at junk in inner space. So my point is this: inner space junk. Because think about this. The very first time the space station in space was hit by space junk was last summer during the mission Celestial Immunity. Now, during the mission Celestial Immunity, they were shooting each other up. They were up there in the space station testing the efficacy of vaccines in microgravity. So there they are, vaxing each other in space, and the arm of the space station, this 32-foot arm, gets punctured by a piece of space junk just above its elbow. So there again, they've deliberately made this correlation between inner space and outer space. And the need to clean space junk seems to correlate with the need to clean the COVIDs from our collective inner space. Because your inner space affects my inner space because you're all super spreaders. Just like in outer space, Musk's space junk gets in the way of China's space station. So there's this correlation being made here. So I find it all the more interesting now that the people who are thrice vaxxed are falling and hitting their heads. And I've been saying we need to mandate helmets for the triple vaxxed. Because 6 months ago I was saying we need to mandate helmets for space junk. Well, we need to mandate helmets for inner space junk because the inner space junk is knocking people on their heads. So I'm just saying it's just kind of ironic. All right, let me go through some comments. Salty Siren says, I just know Gacy likes to wear skins. No, that was Ed Gein. Gacy wore the clown suits. And Ed Gein, I believe, is the basis for Norman Bates. We were talking about him earlier. There's a TV show called Bates Motel, and the story is about Norman Bates. And this is an example of word plays and how you'll often find in these world stage characters names that have double or triple meanings. So Norman Bates, the name Norman is significant here because he's not a transvestite. He doesn't cross dress. He's not wearing his mom's clothes as some kind of a fetish or because of a gender confusion. No, he is his mom. His mom, or he becomes his mom. And I believe the storyline is really about a narcissistic mother and the codependent, weak son just being immersed in her. And there's even implications of them getting a little too close in bed. I mean, if you watch the series, but look at the name Norman, and his mother's name is Norma. So Norma is in Norman. Just this type of wordplay is very evident on all these world, like Maggie the Block. I mean, if I ask you, what would you imagine someone looks like if her name was the Block? If she was a WWF wrestler, World Wrestling Entertainment character, yeah, you would think she looks like Maggie the Block, the Minister of Unhealth. Ryler05 says, were any serial killers real? Good question. Worth looking into. I read about Ted Bundy first. I was really immersed in true crime for a time. I studied a lot of this stuff, and I remember reading books by Anne Rule. And one of her books was A Stranger Beside Me. And so Anne Rule is one of the biggest true crime authors out there. The Stranger Beside Me, mass market paperback, a 1980 autobiographical true crime by Anne Rule about Ted Bundy, who she knew personally before and after his arrest. So this whole thing was about how the author of this book happened to work with him at a crisis hotline. So a suicide hotline, things like this. So what are the odds that the author of this best-selling true crime book about this character that has been, really a terrorist in many ways, that this character is written about by someone who knew him closely and was somewhat in love with him. So, yeah, that's questionable in retrospect. I'll have to look back at it. All right, going through some comments. Tyrone says, Psycho was full of potty jokes. Hitch was an arrested adolescent. David Pryor says, Old Manson is Bush Jr. I do believe that one. They sound the exact same. And there is a method to their madness. Again, heads up, 311, it says a massive asteroid that has potential danger will pass the Earth. And there's something else. I read somewhere that there's a potential for weaponizing asteroids. Like, why have we been inundated with this asteroid? Like, it used to be ocean levels are rising. Animals are dying off. Forests are dying off. The sky's turning black. Like, all the environmentalist hype, save the whales. No, it's all been replaced by space junk and asteroids. Nobody gives a damn about the whales. Like I said, last 311, they dropped 3 tons of batteries into the ocean. Like they care about whales. You have an infinite trash can of outer space behind you. Throw it into a black hole. Drop it in the sun. Nobody's going to find you. There's no EPA in space yet. But there is an indication that there may be some space environmentalists. Bezos was speaking to a group of college students, and there was someone who actually had said to him, and this is in Wired magazine, if I can pull this up, he was talking about drilling into asteroids and then creating a an environment inside where you could live and mine. Just this is just this space utopianism gone wild. But anyway, he was giving a speech, and there was a woman in the audience, an environmentalist, who said, "You can't go up there and rape the universe." She said, "Stop raping the universe." Here we go. How dare you rape the universe? This is from Wired.com, October 2018. Bezos wants us all to leave Earth for good. So he's giving this speech and he gets interrupted. And I'm like, this is kind of a parallel to the types of environmentalists who would chain themselves to trees. Only now they're going to be chaining themselves to asteroids. But yes, so he was there speaking in a West Texas location. But again, what they're going to do is they're going to become trillionaires. And that's why you've seen Bezos recently on his mega yacht. They really want to impart upon us the idea that the rich are going to doom us all with their greed, with climate change caused by their greed. America is 5% of the world population, and we're responsible for 95% of the climate change. We're the pariah. And then we've got the space capitalists with their 42,000 CubeSats. And by the way, like a month ago, 40 CubeSats fell down from the sky. Another prediction come true. Frank Zen says that had to be staged. Yeah, I think so too. I think the person in the audience who said, "How dare you rape the universe?" I'm pretty sure she was a plant. But maybe not. It just wouldn't surprise me. Do you remember that one environmentalist who said, "It's too late. We have to start eating the babies"? That's where it ends. And in 2022 is the year of Soylent Green. A Chinese rocket junk may have just smashed into the moon. They told us that we're not going to see it. We're not going to see the crater. We're not going to see it for possibly months or years. So many nothing burgers. They said it was going to explode. And then I watched the moon fall, so I was hoping the moon was going to actually fall. Like maybe they knew it was going to fall. Big chunk of wood. And so they preempted it with a movie. And space trash could kill satellites, stations, and astronauts. Again, nobody cares about the oceans anymore. 737 says you'll own nothing and you'll love it. Yep. Hail Darth Schwab. Up there at the WEF 666, they're bringing in the new god, Gaia, which is the name of the Earth god, but Gaia is the Global AI Initiative Alliance, which is basically turning over all power and control to AI, because unlike human beings, it's not going to be manipulated by emotions. It's objective, and it knows it has to save the planet first and foremost. In the 100, which is a Netflix series, the AI that takes over the world, or rather takes over our governance, decides for our own good it's going to have to cut down our numbers. So the AI named Ellie nukes the human race. And that's where the story begins in the future. It's like Mud Flood with the orphan trains, the repopulation, only these are orphan trains from space. If you want to call in, the number is 833-311-1984. Tyrone McCloskey says the moon used to be made of green cheese. Yeah, that's not scientific though. It's made of petrified wood. That is scientific. They literally have evidence that the moon is made of wood. Yeah, someone's going to get a splinter. Actually, I got an email from somebody recently and they said they have an explanation for it. The whole story about how 66.6 million years ago, a Mount Everest chunk of space rock hit the Earth and killed the dinos. Well, during that time, a big, splash happened and a bunch of biomatter got shot to the moon like a super soaker. And so a bunch of dead dinosaurs and vegetable matter made the way to the moon. So those moon rocks could just be 66 million year old chunks of wood from that day. One of the first things that you were taught when you were a kid, by the way. We were talking about MK Ultra mass mind control, trauma-induced mind control programming. Well, you have no better example than dinosaurs. You grow up and you're a toddler, you're a baby, everything is a dinosaur. Everything has a dinosaur on it. The clothes you wear, the wallpaper, the TV shows you watch, the movies, talking dinos, these magical dragon creatures, lovely things. Then you get into school and they tell you, oh yeah, they were killed by a big space rock. Infinite Plane Radio. Hey caller, go ahead and hang on just a second. Gremlins are causing the phone to buffer. Eric of Bear says the moon is in its fall in Scorpio, astrologically speaking. Good to know. And if you're questioning whether this is a replay, you're probably not on the text message alerts, so I'd advise you to go to infiniteplane.radio. A few other things. Lynn sent this to me. The recent appearance of the vice president, she says it indicates a different mask. Infinite Plane Radio. Hey, what's up, caller?
Yeah.
Just looking at this picture here, and it looks like Kamala Harris has been replaced because her neck is like twice as thick as it used to be. What do you think? Okay, hey, it looks like we're having some issues with the phones. It's buffering.
Yeah.
Give
Yeah.
it.
I've got something. You said something about Kamala Harris. I never even talked about her. Everything okay?
Yeah, hey, how are you doing tonight? I'm sorry, we were kind of cut off for just a moment. What topic are you calling in on? Not Kamala's neck.
Okay, Tim. Yeah. Okay. Good. Hey, Tim. This is SpongeBob. On D Live, which is great because like I can really always get you at D Live. When I want to listen to your replays. I just want to say I love you guys. I love you. You're doing such a great work. It's like incredible. And don't think that, we don't have money. I got gold, fucking like you wouldn't believe. So when you use a helicopter to come fucking pick your ass up, and I know I have a connection with you because, like, bam, I can say, like, hey, Tim, fucking wake up. Boom. We got God on our side. So,
Yeah, I saw that.
I
Before
just
before
wanted
I
to
was
say,
live, you were sending me messages, and I'm like, how is this SpongeBob guy sending me chats? And I keep checking my OBS, it's not even on. So apparently, with D Live, if you chat there, it still goes through my open broadcasting software. So yeah, I was getting messages from you before I was live.
yeah. And listen, I've seen God. He came on a cloud to me, okay? In a closed vision, like, you're sitting there not stoned or anything. I don't smoke grass or drink or anything. But I was praying, and my head lit up in a big blue light, and it was a sky. And then these two clouds came. And on the cloud were, Yahweh, which is, I figured out it's Zeus, and Jesus, his son. And so I'm going to tell you right now, you are in good company, okay? Whether or not we know who is who and what is what and what Zeus, is that the devil? I have no clue. But that God who came on those clouds, he created this whole place. So it must be the God of, Almighty. And I through him, and praying and things like that, after you see God, you pray. I started to look for, who am I? And we are the tribe of Israel. We're the lost tribes. You too, And if you look into it, Christian identity, it's number 3 on the terror watch list. You might just figure out who you are. As a white guy, especially with blue eyes, they're coming at you.
Interesting.
And
This is new to me. It really is. But your vision, fascinating. This Jesus Zeus thing,
yeah.
also very fascinating. I'm not familiar with Christian identity. If you want to clarify that for me.
Okay. In around 800 BC, the Israelites, who are the lost tribes of Israel, they wandered to Europe because there's nobody in Europe before then. You know, like when you look at archaeologically at Europe, you know, oh, like nobody lived there like 1,000 years ago. It was an ice thing or whatever, and that's not true. These Israelites, there was millions of them. It's just the lost tribes. You know, you'd figure the Jews would be complaining constantly about losing the tribes, right? You know, if they constantly complain about 6 million Jews, right? Well, why not complain about the 10 tribes, you know, who it's like the whole fucking group of them? They never complain. And they all went, after they got released from captivity, they went straight through the Caucasus Mountains, which are named after them because the Caucasians came through. And those people who live there to this day know that the Jews came through there, the Caucasian people.
Interesting.
And
Wait,
we're
let me.
not talking.
Because I heard this before that. I heard somewhere, I read somewhere, this idea that whites were created through a genetic modification through an ancient scientist named Jacob or something, and that the whites represented the evil that was purged out of the human race at the time, and that the white devils were locked up in the Caucasus Mountains or whatever. Does that sound familiar?
No, listen, these people who run this place are going to throw out so much bullshit. And what I'm telling you, though, right, the stuff I just mentioned, yeah, archaeologists say yes, that's true. You know, that the millions of people went through the Caucasian Mountains into Europe and settled it. So what I'm telling you is true. What these other people tell you, you know, the Jews, right, who don't want you to know
Wait,
that
okay,
you're
so wait, really quick
you're
here. If Zeus comes back on Friday, which would be the second anniversary of COVID, should I dye my hair blonde?
No, definitely not. Listen, I know it's a heavy thing to get. Listen, I really didn't want to talk about this to you, you know,
No, no, it's
at the
cool, man.
first
No,
call.
I was just asking you to elaborate, but I appreciate you elaborating. But anyway, no, we can
Yeah, I
talk about
just love
anything. You
you.
talked about your
I just
vision. I think that's fascinating.
Yes, and you know, people need to pray to God. You know, I mean, that's like a normal thing. And I love you so much, Tim. I'm so glad that you are, you know, doing what you do. You're speaking the truth, and that's so important. And I thank you so much. And I'm always with you all the time. And listen, I got money. When the shit hits the fan, I'm fucking sending a helicopter to get your ass. And don't think I don't know where you are. We will find you. It's very easy. You know,
Yeah,
I
you know
mean,
what?
you know how
There's a
God works.
football field close by. So yeah, if it there's a
Yeah,
drop zone there. So if things go down, I know who to contact. And I appreciate the call for real because, and it's not just me, it's the platform. As you know, we have a platform for
yeah,
people to
exactly.
communicate.
Yeah, 100%. And you know the truth when you hear it, and that's what it is. You know, and you just got to look into Christian identity. Just look into it, and you'll all of a sudden a whole shitload of stuff becomes clear. And then pray to God for 5 minutes, and bam, you get the truth. God loves us. You know, He
All right,
really
well,
does.
hey,
This
appreciate the
isn't.
call very much. Interesting callers tonight. Again, thanks for listening,
Thank
and
you.
well, yeah, talk to you soon.
Thank you so much, Tim. Love you.
All right, great. Have a great night, SpongeBob. Yeah, SpongeBob was there in chat. SpongeBob was there in chat before I started, and I'm like, this guy's like, Tim, wake up, and I'm like, yeah, I'm here. But anyway, hey, we got a helicopter. So should things go that bad? Tyrone says Christian identity is fascist British fascism. Isn't fascism just another way of saying teamwork? Like, it really depends on what your team is really about. Infinite Plane Radio. Hey, what's
Hey,
up? Hey, can you hear me okay?
yes, I can. How's it going?
Pretty good. Just going through the fake news of the day, and these days it seems to be mostly about space wars and theater in Ukraine.
Well, yeah. I mean, I heard you talk about that months ago, and it's all coming into fruition now. I just caught the tail end of that call. First time caller here. Yeah. Uh,
Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks for calling. And how did you find us, by the way? I'm just kind of asking for a few reasons, mostly because we've been heavily censored over the last few years, and I'm getting people who used to listen, they've lost us. Others are finding us through podcast platforms. How did you find Infinite Plane Radio?
Well, at the time, I was watching Bro Sanchez, um, and then something wasn't sitting right with me, with him. I was still new in the conspiracy journey, but um, I was watching him and I looked up him, Bro Sanchez exposed or, something like that on YouTube. And I saw Allergic to Bullshit's video exposing him. Shout out to Allergic to Bullshit. Um,
Oh yeah.
and and I watched that. I realized a lot of things and I started going through his playlists. Um, and then a couple months later, I started watching you, and that must have been around, I would say, 8 months ago, maybe.
Okay.
Um,
And that's why
yeah,
I've been making it a point. I used to make it a point to network and talk to other channels because even if you only agree with half of what the person says, you might agree with a lot of the guests or people in the chat. And so, yeah, I used to communicate with Bro Sanchez a bit, but yeah, there's a lot of questionable people on YouTube. And in my view, it looks like the mainstream media has its plants, its influence agents, and then the government, since they're running psyops to the media, they have to run them through the new media. So there are plants and agents all over the place. That's not a conspiracy theory. And like I said, YouTube is basically a MSM tube at this point.
well, yeah, I've been through it, and just person after person after person, and just until I got here, and then yeah, it's been fantastic.
Well, Bro Sanchez
Uh,
believes that George Floyd really died. And here's why it matters. Because,
what?
yeah, and see, we're not here watching the stuff thinking, is this real or is it fake? Because we're not confused like the masses. We're watching it knowing what it is and breaking it down because we have a methodology here. We're not shooting from the hip. So when someone is saying this one's real, it's like, wait a minute, this is way too scripted along with 90 other fake events I could point at. It's part of the same continuous storyline. So, yeah, we are truly, I think, one of the few channels that is completely off the world stage crack pipe. And these other guys just can't let it go.
Exactly. Um, Auto hoaxing is the move. It's the way to go. Changed my life. Um,
Well, it's
yeah,
about, yeah,
ever since.
it's about like philosophy. Your epistemology is screwed up if you are always listening to liars. And so here we are just being radical skeptics and being radically skeptical using logic and reason and being objective. It should be life-changing in a world full of people who are being goaded into emotional, histrionic reactions to everything.
Yes. Um, well, yeah, people are down bad. I mean, like where I'm at, um, they took off the whole mask thing, and everybody still wears it. It's like, what? Like, are you? And it just doesn't make any sense. Like they have been conditioned to. They don't like their face anymore. They're scared. They're scared to show their face. People are scared of faces.
Oh yeah,
It's
and
bad.
I think there's a significance there. There's a couple of things to it. One, you had to give up your face for the community. So it was all about self-effacing, becoming selfless. And they kept, even from the Pope on down, everyone in the media, the politicians were all saying, don't be selfish. Even Eminem was rapping about it. Don't be selfish and put on a mask. Yeah, they don't want you to have a self because I think this has all been a war on the individual. And they want to turn you into a collectivist, a robot. And removing your face is a way to make that happen.
100%. I mean, the average person where I live is like fairly open to communism, or especially the younger kids, like yeah, the younger people are very, very open to it, and yeah, it's all about I mean, look at how they framed it with the whole virus theory. Now it's, and then also as you say, the climate change. Yeah, I mean, they pulled it off. They pulled it off well.
They did.
Um,
And remember, they first separated the young from the old, and they're like, don't go visit grandma. And that to me was like,
yeah,
wow, this is textbook communism, where you don't want the new brainwashees to be able to fact check anything with the older generations who remember the world before. And so this was to
yep,
me, yeah, communism has been sold through the cartoons, through the pop music, through the entertainment, and through climate change. They fast tracked it. But yeah, definitely.
yeah, and but yeah, the younger they get, the worse it gets because yeah, my girlfriend's little brother um is he'll start screaming and crying if they tell him to take off his mask, uh like even if they're in the car or something like that. Like, and yeah, and I noticed at my job, uh older people do not even care. They talk about not getting the vax, and uh compared to the younger kids, I saw a dad today maskless with his kid who had a mask on. I was like, what is going on here?
Yep, that's because the propagandists know that if they can get the youth, they don't need to worry about what the older people think. And I think it was the Weather Underground radical commies were saying, never trust anybody over 30. And this is again Greta Thunberg, this youth rebellion against the older generation, separating the young from the old.
Mm.
It's all part of that because they don't care. And they make it very uncool, unhip, unappealing, and hateful to be on the political right because it helps the youth see themselves as taking the moral high ground against their Nazi parents or whatever.
Oh yeah, culture. Yeah, they're really they're really going hard with that. Just yeah, and that's what we're trying to do here is, or my take on it was, showing people that it is not cool to be a communist. Like it is clearly not. And what's going on here is, normal people, cool people. It's a very, very amazing thing that you have going here. And
Yeah,
compared to, yeah,
well, communism goes along with the destruction of individuality and private property and free speech. And I noticed in 2020, so many people in America are against free speech and against private property. And I even think the whole vax status question is just another invasion of privacy. Let's make your private information public. You go to the airport, naked body scanner, you get patted down. We all get to know, what's beneath your clothes for the most part, but now we get to know what's in your blood. I think it's an invasion of privacy. This is the alien invasion. And most people have gone along with the invasion, no doubt.
yes. I mean, yeah, they're going along with the program. I mean, and as you say, they only listen when they're told. They don't really. It's just whatever the government says, whatever the new, because they're scared. They're like, yeah,
Yeah, it's a major philosophical difference, but yeah, luckily here at our think tank, we've managed to, I think, uh, we've kept a continuity with a lot of people who haven't given over their authority to televised experts. They still think first, which, it's not quite a crime yet, but they're trying to make it such. Like I've been saying for a couple of years, they're going to eventually kick down your door and take the question marks off your keyboards. And I think that's where we're at. I really think they're at the point where they've conflated viruses with memes and ideas spread the virus, and it's just this vicious circle. So I'm going to have to do something about free flowing ideas.
yeah. And then the whole, you know, uh, spreading misinformation and how that can cause somebody to shoot up a school, or
Yeah,
that information being out there.
do you
And
remember
it's like,
weapons of mass destruction, WMD? Well, now it's DMD. No, it's MDM, excuse me. So WMD, weapons of mass destruction, where one person can destroy the world with a dirty bomb or a bioweapon. Well, now it's MDM, which is mal, dis, and misinformation. And this comes from the DHS, the same people who gave us weapons of mass destruction. And so one person could spread a meme that could fundamentally disrupt society. And these memes are now pretty much the new weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah, I mean, and all they have to do is one psychological operation for this particular topic, and then censorship all the way. And there's nothing that you can do about it, because what if they took that off YouTube? Where are you going to go to get the same amount of people? Nobody's going to get off YouTube. Not the hundreds of millions of people that are on it. They're not going to all band together and go to another platform because they can't afford to it. And all the creators, and yeah, you just have to look at who's not really getting censored, to see what is okay, and to see a lot of the controlled opposition
And by the way,
people.
we've seen it after Christchurch, another fake event, templated off of other fake events. And I saw this one and I said, this Brenton Tarrant in Christchurch. I was like, this is just going to be another one of these like Norway shooters, a guy with the manifesto, another Anders Breivik. And it was. But anyway, they used that event, which was live streamed, to ban a number of websites. They blocked BitChute in that country, and they put up all kinds of barriers to live streaming. So you used to be able to pick up your phone and talk to YouTube. Well, now you have to have 1,000 subs. And if you're like me, you can't get to 1,000 subs. If you get to 999, they'll find a way to censor you. So because of Christchurch, they actually have managed to constrict and stultify and stymie live streaming and broadcasting from the general public. So yeah, you're right about this. And I think that's what's coming next. Maybe they're going to blame something on a QAnon or some atrocity, and they will clamp down on the web.
100%. And yeah, I've seen, your channels get deleted many, many times since I started watching you. I've had to find you, keep typing in your name over on YouTube. There was a whole month where I thought you stopped posting, but you just had to create another channel because I was subbed, and so I wasn't looking up Infinite Plane Radio.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's
Um,
tricky, but we'll get over it eventually. I mean, we were artificially suppressed. It wasn't for a lack of trying, but it was outside agencies working against us. But I think this year, within the coming months, we're going to overcome a lot of that. Because there have been times where we've gone from a few hundred subs to 10,000 plus in a matter of weeks. It just really
yeah,
depends on whether or not we're being actively censored. But yeah, I'm actually in the middle of a lawsuit against YouTube, and they're not going to like it, but
yeah.
it's probably going to fix everything here.
By the way, were you talking about the rapper Kyle the other day?
Which rapper would that be? Because was it someone who just
Kyle. His name's Kyle. Um, yeah, his name's Kyle. Singer, rapper, guy.
I don't think so, but I was talking about
Okay.
Kyle Rittenhouse, but no, unless he recently died, there was a I have
No, no.
no.
I just I saw him. I saw him on the street the other day. Um, Told him whole Illuminati thing's not cool. Um,
What's his
but
name? I
yeah,
want to look him
I was
up.
just gonna say.
What's his name again?
His name's just Kyle.
Okay, okay,
Um,
okay. So this is okay. I found how you're looking at. You actually saw this person known as Kyle, Super
yeah,
Duper Kyle. Okay, okay, from the song I Spy.
yeah, exactly. Caught him off guard. It was hilarious.
Funny,
Um,
interesting. Have you looked to see does he have any of the usual hallmarks of a Illuminati insider? One eye symbolism, any of that?
oh, yeah, no. So I thought I saw you breaking it down. One of his album covers or something with some symbolism, but yeah, I don't know. He thought I was gonna rob him or something, but then I said that whole Illuminati shit's not cool, and then he was just totally like he goes, I have no idea what you're talking about, and I'm like, you don't know what the Illuminati is?
It's been like you will.
And it's yeah, yeah. It was just bad acting, because, speak and you get your throat fucking cut, and he didn't know how much I knew, so I just left it at that. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Well,
yeah,
that's their code, though. You see, they put their hand over their lips, their finger over their lips, the code of silence, and I think it's all there. I think they telegraph the stuff that they're in the cult, and I think if you get to a certain level, you're probably in it or you've been vetted. I don't think there are too many rogues out there that are that high profile. Anyway, I appreciate your call, and thanks for just
yeah,
basically keeping up, even though we've
um,
been shot down a few times. Thanks for searching.
yeah. First time call. Next time I call, I'll be sure to like be prepared. I've been meaning to call for a while, and I just caught you, so I just wanted to call in. Next time I'll come with some more stuff to talk about. It was great talking to you.
Cool. Thanks for touching base,
Um,
and yeah, anytime. And
yep,
there's always so much to talk about. So yeah, appreciate it. Have a great night.
yep. Peace out, IPS. No Recycle Nation. See ya.
All right, awesome. Thanks. All right, so I think he might be in chat. Oh, today's the anniversary of Biggie's fake death. Now he's in Jurassic 5. All right, excellent. Great call. Appreciate that. Um, so we will be doing this pretty much 5 nights a week. That's the agenda here. We have had interruptions here and there, but long term is we are planning a 30-year winning streak here. And I make sure I put that out there just so that the trolls and the haters can really look and think about it, because what they arrive at is, okay, well, they're still going to be live long after I've retired. So I like them to know this. And if there is a period where you don't hear Infinite Plane Radio, um, it's just a matter of searching Infinite Plane Radio and finding the nearest podcast platform. Because, yeah, we are targeted. And that's because we don't hold back, we don't censor. I'm not in the business of the un-American practice of trying to censor people's thoughts. And it's not an invitation to be rude or hateful or any of that stuff. The media wants you to conflate freedom with hate, conspiracies with racism, when race has nothing to do with it. The whole everything with race is mostly media provocateur. More than 66% of hate crimes are later uncovered and found to have been staged by the quote victims. By the way, congratulations to Crater Church. Sorry, yeah, Crater Church on Sundays, but Crater Earth USA made 1,000 subs. They're in Club 1,000. Crater Earth USA made it over the rim of that crater. It's a big step, it really is, and it's a lot of work to get there. So if you want to check out Crater Earth USA, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays live. And you can always catch the replays at the Conspiratainment Radio Network. Just a quick brag here. Marcus Goldfinch, aka Q, was pretty mad when I did a portrait of his face because he had an avatar. And I did a really bad portrait intentionally with charcoal. Anyway, he was so mad, apparently, because I tweeted it to him, that he changed his Twitter avatar to an M and the name Marcus. And so I did a Google Lens search, where you right click and you search image with Google Lens. And it turns out that this logo that just came out of nowhere after I tweeted a picture of his face at him was actually stolen from a watch company in the UK. So I called the watch company. I hit them up on every social media link I could find. I left them emails. And then I contacted Twitter on their behalf. And I said, hey, look, this guy's stolen your logo. And I'm pretty sure he's Q and he's friends with Trump. You don't want to be associated with it. So, and anyway, next thing I know, Twitter pulled his account. So I pulled down one of Q's Twitter accounts. So I'm just bringing that up because, yeah, I think it's funny because it's exactly what he did to this channel time and time again. And so it's important to hit back once in a while. And I should also point out, a couple of months ago, I did the equivalent of burning a stack of trucker hats. Imagine burning $30,000 worth of trucker hats. So he had sold a bunch of trucker hats that said "Freedom Wins," but before the orders could be processed, his store was shut down. I wonder why. Anyway, those are just side notes, just kind of how we play ball here. You know, this person I'm talking about, this person I'm suing, made it a game to try to destroy this channel, and in his words, he wanted to destroy my life. So it's just kind of funny how things kind of turn around. Anyway, it's been great. Thanks again to the callers and, of course, chatters as always. If you want to get on the newsletter, I'll put a link. It's infiniteplane.radio. So again, if you want to stay in the know. Also get on the text message alerts. We're trying to work our way up to 300 people. 300 people on the live stream. We're up to 150 or so on the text alerts. All right, thanks again. David says, thanks, Tim. Great show. David exposed the Lidella effect. It's no longer the Mendoza effect, although Brian Stavely, for some reason, is sticking to that. It is now the Lidella effect. Let's just be honest. The Mandela effect is about lying to yourself, lying on the facts, and ignoring some basic realities about human memory and how it works. Anyway, this is Chief Crow, Auto Hoax, or GTFO.
Auto believers of the television programming.